So you're coming in here.
We're already chatting about life and what's going to happen. So do you think you can unlock the mysteries of the universe simply by looking up? Look at the stars and planets. For years, astrology has fascinated and mystified people. You may know our next guest, celebrity astrologer David Palmer, a.k.a. the Leo King, from This Astrology Guide. It's a hot seller right now on Amazon. It just came out, and so we have got David joining us. He came into town from L.A., and we are going to quiz you, or maybe you're going to be quizzing us, I think is probably the better way to describe it. So welcome to the show, David.
Thanks for having me.
Explain how astrology works. Give us Astrology 101.
Well, really, Astrology 101 is synchronicity, looking up and seeing the patterns that are happening in the universe in the simplest form. I mean, today we are always down on our cell phones, and we're not looking up anymore and seeing what's going on. There's all these patterns that are happening all the time. I mean, look at the new and the full moon cycle. It's actually the same cycle that a woman has. 28 days, the same cycle. There's all these cycles in life that we have to start to pay attention to, and a lot of people aren't paying attention to them.
Okay, so if we're looking up, what are we seeing right now?
Well, when you look up, you can actually see right now, you can see Venus right in the morning, about 4 a.m., the brightest star. You got Jupiter right there, and Saturn right in between. It's almost like, when they found Christ with the three magi, and they were looking for this alignment in the sky. It's really interesting when you start to see planets all come together at certain points. And if you look at the world today, it's pretty intense right now. What is it telling us? Well, what it's telling us is, number one, we're going through an interesting transit right now with Pluto and Saturn, which hasn't happened since 1517 in this area. And it's so interesting because at that time, I mean, that was the Renaissance period, but it was also a period of reformation and massive change. And then we've got another transit that's happening, the same one since 1934, which I don't know if you remember during that time was the whole buildup of all of the countries changing alliances and governments being really extreme, right? And how everything was all over the place. And you didn't think, like, right now, we always hear on the news, like, America and Russia are against each other. America and Russia went into Nazi Germany and took it over, So these weird alliances are going to start to pop up, and people are going to be like, this doesn't make sense anymore. But really, this is where we're at in the times. Everything is going so different that people aren't almost ready for it, if that makes sense.
How do you remember all this? And how long have you been studying it?
Well, I think it's more of like understanding the math, like the astronomy. So a lot of people think astrologers are kind of just like only just these psychic weirdos in like some weird little like room just stuck by ourselves. But really it's about math and understanding these things and having a connection to a higher purpose, whether you call that God, whether you call that spirit, and really trying to find a way to put them together. But yeah, I've been studying it a long time, and I've had lots of great older astrologers that have guided the way. But I also look at astronomers. So it's about connecting both the science and the divination,
And you're going to stay with us because in about 30 minutes or so, Jamie is going to come over here and grill you with some questions. But you're going to talk a little bit more about kind of what's to come and a little bit more in the world in 2019.
Cool, perfect.
Okay, do you have a tease for us? Anything exciting we're going to learn?
Oh, there's so much going to happen right now in the next week that's going to be so intense that people aren't even ready for it yet.
Okay, I'm going to ask you about my life, actually. But we're going to do that while Kim is giving us a look at your forecast on this Saturday morning. Hey, Kim.
Celebrity astrologer David Palmer, also known as the Leo King, is back with us. So his astrology guide is a hot seller right now on Amazon. We talked earlier about the modern approach to the age-old practice of astrology. So now let's look into the future. So David, what does the future hold for us? You said in our last segment, this week's going to be a big one.
This week's huge. We got a Mercury retrograde coming in Pisces, which makes things really confusing. At the same time, the planet Uranus is going to come into Taurus like it did in 1934, which was like the rise of Hitler, the total change in all the agreements with the world and world power shifting. But the big thing's President Trump. He's got a pretty intense situation going on in his life. A lot of people look at it, whether it's from the government and the court stuff that's going on or whether or not he's colluded. But the big thing is there's going to be so much confusion in the world. He's going to be having to take on confusing information while being kind of attacked at the same time. So the mental stress is the biggest one. Is he going to mentally be able to handle it? He is an intense person, though, because he was born on a lunar eclipse at the exact second. Literally. Which is a very big deal. He's a Gemini like you, too. So he's actually got a lot of stimulation, but it's like, how much stimulation can someone really take?
Oh my goodness. And you said a lot of things in the world are going to be interesting. Brexit, what's happening over in England?
So that's the whole thing. How funny during this Brexit period, especially this is March. It's the March 29th deadline's coming up, and Mercury comes out of retrograde on the 28th, and it's all happening in Pisces over Neptune. And when you look at this Uranus transit, when how the world shifted and all the powers shifted, it's looking like it's going to happen. And then what's more interesting is the Queen is born on Hitler's birthday.
Oh my goodness.
Not saying they're the same people.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that the planet Uranus is going to the exact spot. It looks like the Queen's reign is over here, and I think it's very deeply connected with Brexit. And so it looks like either Charles, or is he going to pass it over to one of his kids, because he's got a bad rap with what happened with Princess Diana.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the border. We talk about the border a lot here in Arizona. Are we going to see any change? What's going to be happening down in our Arizona border?
Well, the thing that's hard about the border is because it's connected to Trump, and he's in a very hard spot where this year he's trying to push a lot of things, but he's getting a lot of resistance back. And so I had put in my magazine this year that he's going to have to learn to work with them and work with other people. And I think he's finding his right tone, but it's going to be how he deals with a lot of this crazy other situations in the world to kind of prove to them how that's going to happen. And if that would happen, it would be by September and into the end of the year.
The stock market, where are we putting our money? Where are we pulling it?
Okay, so technology is not looking like the best place anymore, because we're coming to a hard aspect from 1993 when Uranus and Neptune came together, was the whole boom of the internet technology, and it's coming into a hard place now. It's going to go back to like oil. I believe oil prices we're going to see in the next month or two are going to go to the lowest we've ever seen, or it's just going to shoot to the most extreme high we've ever seen. But I'm predicting more of the lowest. We've already been seeing it go down, down. Oil, more of the physical goods, more of like production. The same thing happened in the 30s. We started building tanks, we started building ships. How ironic, the government got $1.4 trillion over the last 2 years, and we're going to go be producing things. So companies that are producing things back to the kind of old way is going to kind of shock people. And technology is kind of not going to be the hot ticket.
Okay, anything else we need to know?
Well, I think that the main thing is to, when everything changes over this next, especially week and into this whole year, relax. Watch it's beautiful to watch. It's beautiful to watch the world change.
Okay.
And that's what I think is so beautiful about this.
And go with it.
And go with it.
It's for the good, you told me.
It's always for the good. Like, if everything didn't change, this would be the most boring place on the planet.
That's true. Change is good. The Leo King, thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you.
Thanks for coming by.
Yeah.
We will be right back, Arizona. Our 9 o'clock hour of GMAZ is next.
Well, it's a marvelous night for a moon dance with the stars up above in your eyes. A fantabulous night to make romance 'neath the cover of